Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and hello. Two things at the top of the hour here. The first being that we are inside of a hot air balloon. I do not feel like showing you more about that. That's just totally where we are. My computer might be sad because it's a little bit of like a fancier world than what I normally film in, and so if this video is like frame droppy or whatever, that's what's going on, but we power through these things. The other thing is I actually have no idea what this video is going to be about. I'm just following through on that sense of whimsy, and I thought it was going to be a Resonite morning because I got about an hour and a half of VR time before work today, and I thought it was going to be a Resonite day because I'm working on a few projects and there's big things on the way. And I opened up into the VR, and it's like, actually, VR chats is the right thing to do. And I was like, what? Is it time to film in VR chat? Are you kidding me? Yes, this is so exciting. I just don't know what we're going to make yet, so give me a sec, I'll figure it out. And I can't possibly figure it out until we bring the camera up a little bit higher to get into the correct framing. You guys are so silly. You gotta have the correct framing. What is this? And now that we fixed that, it's time for the video to begin. But the thing is, I really don't know what to make right now. I just kind of think I'm not really going to make anything at all. Because the most I could fathom if I was going to try to apply logic to my emotion states right now, which is actually, despite that's being most of what I do most of the time, a losing game. Because I don't possibly have the ability to understand the deep complexities of the machineries that make up a human person. I'm just, near as I can tell, a little human man trying to figure out things, and none of it makes any sense, so I just use words to try and describe it as best as I can. What I try to do sometimes, and I can't help myself from trying to do this, is apply the words I do have to describe systems I think I more or less understand towards systems which I do not understand. Lately, I've been dealing with a system I don't understand, so when I try to put words towards it, there's a chance that that holds me back in a way that just raw experience would help me learn more faster than trying to describe it to myself. Let's talk about whatever the heck it was I just said. And first up, I think it really is going to be that using words to describe a problem helps break down the problem. That's just, humans are going to be scared of things which are unknown, and if you can describe something and look at it and savor its flavor and describe it to someone else, you understand it well enough for it not to be an unknown. It can be a scary thing that you have defined even just for yourself, and if it's flawed language, at least you've still defined it for yourself. And that gives you more of an angle of attack. When you can name the problem, I do think there's tremendous power in that. And a lot of people will look at me and say, Phineas Former, are you overthinking again? Because it looks like, and it might in fact be true, that I overthink. But I also just kind of think. And it's not necessarily so much that my head won't stop thinking, but maybe that's just natural. Like for me, that's regular think. Like I can't stop that. I would drink to try and stop it, or play games to try and stop it. But I think naturally my head just thinks a lot, and it's so loud all of the time. So thinking about problems and trying to put words to them is really natural, and it makes sense for me. And the point there is just that I like examining a problem and putting language to it to help me break it down when I actually begin confronting the thing. That's going to go for problems which seem a little more simple on the surface if you're going to try going to a party again, and typically parties suck for you because there's so many people, you get anxious, you don't know what to do, you're not making any friends, you don't know anyone there. That can really suck. Thinking about it in more constructive and solidified terms, what parts of parties are really challenging for you, pair that with what things in the past have not been challenging for you, and try and bring those things together. When I tried going to bars on my own, that freaked me out a whole bunch, but I loved writing and I liked playing games, so I carved out a little system where I was allowed to write at bars or play a game if I got really overwhelmed. And I would do that at parties too a little bit, because at least then I was at a party keeping myself occupied and letting myself be okay as I was in the middle of confronting a problem. And that's taking a challenging circumstance, thinking about what's hard about it. I really wanted to be social. I was having a hard time with that. And then I had a fallback of what goes well for me, typically speaking, and how can I bring the two together. That's the sort of thing that you can figure out if you think a lot. As a quick side note, this is far different than just panicking a bunch. If you're mired in it and causing yourself pain and just feeling tons of anxiety, that's not the way to overthink. That's just anxiety. And I think maybe that's what I think a lot, but not necessarily overthink all of the time. And some of that is when you're trying to be really constructive, and if you have to like write things down, I've done that plenty as well, or sometimes I make videos about these things to sort out what I'm thinking about instead of just facing an all-consuming ball of anxiety and everything is the worst. Putting names to problems and putting names to solutions, even possible ones, helps me a lot when confronting the unknown. The most I can fathom for what I'm doing here today, because I really am just following through senses of whimsy. I didn't think about this at all. The most I can fathom, though, is recently I've been confronting another massive ball of difficulty, absolute insurmountable panic, danger Will Robinson. I haven't wanted to drink this much since a very long time, like stop off at work, drink at work. I haven't done that for 2 years. Because I've been faced with such a difficulty, such a massive unknown that's been causing me so much pain. A handful of days ago, when this new pain was more introduced in a bigger way, there were a few days of absolute sheer panic that I had to go through, and thankfully I had the support of my partner to be able to get through that a little bit easier than I would have otherwise. But the partner, that's not necessary. It makes it easier, but you can go through that journey on your own. After that pain, I recognized I'm still alive, that's fine. It sucked to bear through that, but after returning to a sense of normalcy, I was then... this isn't right. Now, we do have to table that idea. We'll come back to it, but if my math is correct, we are going to be subverting that idea I just brought up. Because yesterday I was able to confront this new, massive, terrible, horrible ball of unknown. I hate everything about this. I want to die and get drunk and forget everything about it. It was not great. I was able to sort of approach it in a different way, which I think bears some examination, which might as well be what we're doing today, because I have no idea what else we're doing today, and this is the sort of thing that I just kind of do for fun. So, table everything so far. Yes, it's great to overthink. Some people call it overthinking, and it might be overthinking. But to really examine a problem that is you're being faced with before actually confronting it. But I think there might also be another way. And the skinny of it, ladies and gentlemen, I just gotta be honest with you. I am so tired of fighting it. Because this is exhausting. All of the time, so exhausting. Massive problem. I'm in a zone of terror, and how do I examine this unknown so I can carve out a space that I'm safe inside of my machineries of the mind? And then I don't want there to be corners of my mind that I'm uncomfortable approaching or going to. So when I find something I'm uncomfortable with, I want to no longer become afraid of the thing I'm uncomfortable with, because I want to be more or less a master of myself. In the past, this did look like, and maybe it did need to be, massive examinations of massive problems to try and figure out how to fight whatever, like, to fight for myself inside of a brain that was really deeply unkind. It's possible that that was something required. If not required, then it's what I decided to do anyway, for better or worse. But it did help get me to where I am now, and it's led to a few interesting things. And I suppose that in short, you could say that I flipped it. Simple mechanism, and I could use tons and tons of words to describe it, but I flipped it. And the thing I flipped is this. I think it's actually a pretty powerful mechanism. I typically expend extensive amounts of energy thinking through a problem I'm about to have, so I have contingencies, and if it goes poorly, here's what I can do after I'm prepared for that circumstance, like, so I can move forward in confidence knowing I have a plan if it goes poorly, but then also here's tools that I do have, like everything I described at the start of the video, ways to get through big problems. I will overthink things, some people call it overthinking, and it might be, in order to feel really prepared for facing a challenge. What I did yesterday, because I was just tired of expending that energy. I have a life to live, for crying out loud, and channels I want to make, and videos I want to present. There's a lot that I want to do, and I'm tired of fighting and like bunkering down against the big enemies inside of my head. It just sucks, and it takes so much energy. So the thing that I happened to do, without necessarily thinking about the actions or the words to apply to my actions, which I am now using to describe to you, I just kind of did it. And the challenge in question was participating in a community event for a Discord server that my boyfriend is a part of. Some other time, possibly pretty soon, I'll be talking more about the saga of this thing. It's just has to deal with jealousy, and then how I was able to translate that and transform it into a center of emotionality I understand. As it turns out, the solution for dealing with incomprehensible amounts of jealousy and how do I engage in this community is I was working on repairing my relationship with my inner 14-year-old self. And connecting with my past in just deeply unexpected ways. There's a journey to that. It's just flawless. It worked great. That's not what we're here for, though. I will be describing more about how all of that happened soon. But the simple and most direct mechanism, which did occur if I were to put insufficient language towards it, it's just kind of the best guess I have right now, is I went into a circumstance which was deeply emotionally and spiritually terrifying to me, and accepted the risk of, if there's damage or fallout to myself, if this does go actually quite poorly and I can't handle this, I will then expend the energy to pick up any pieces of me, opposed to spending tons of energy beforehand to try and stop myself from falling apart. Rejection hurts. So when you move into a position where you can get rejected, it's pretty natural to want to put systems in place where you are less likely to get rejected. It sucks to be bad at something, so you would either not do something so you're never bad at it, or do something in deep secrecy so you never have to show anyone that you're bad at it, which then I think looks like you're not reaching out to people, and then you wonder why you feel so alone because you're doing everything in secret because you don't want to be bad at something publicly, because it feels very bad to be bad at something, which looks like avoiding the pain of being rejected for being or feeling inadequate. And sometimes if you're faced with the inadequacy of self, it can be soul-crushing and you will fall apart. If that sounds dramatic and extreme, that's okay. Some people are dramatic and extreme. The initial instinct, and where I have hyperspect a great majority of my life, is that I do not want to fall apart. I had to cobble myself together with duct tape and glue, and dreams. The dreams themselves were also held together with duct tape and glue. And I would fight as hard as I could not to fall apart, because I don't want to be fallen apart. I want to be a whole and complete and big and strong. That's fine. Totally not a big deal. Applicable way to live. You don't want to fall apart. And if it's... that's fine. But yesterday, I recognized, when I came to confront this massive and terrifying unknown, which then snowballed into confronting a second one, actually, that's a separate story, but yesterday was pretty big for me. I decided that if I fell apart, worst case scenario, it goes super poorly, it was too much for me to handle, everything is the worst, I'd be fine. Piece it back together, whatever, I've gotten pretty good at that, we'll be okay. It takes a certain amount of energy to rebuild after something crushes your soul, and if you have a stronger soul, then you're less likely to be crushed. Whatever, all sorts of language can go into that, and I think all of it is deeply inadequate, and possibly even just false, but I try the best I can. And it made much more sense to me to weigh out this theoretical energy expenditure. If I fall apart, I'll expend the energy and time it takes to piece myself back together. Opposed to, I will spend tons of time and energy ahead of time to try and ensure myself staying intact. There's a few ways to proceed from that, a few angles to take. I'm gonna go with just the one that I don't think is very healthy or helpful, and maybe not even the correct thing to say, but I say so many things wrong all of the time, I'm not even very afraid of it. Usually I think people would say oh, you're stronger than you are, and you never know if you don't try, and you gotta put yourself out there, and it's I hate all of that. It sucks, because I was great, I'll just get right on that and confront my fears and whatever. Like, that's what people typically say. And the one I'm going to say instead is, I'm sorry, I don't know, this is probably not the right thing to say, but how intact were you in the first place? I venture to say that a typical human, when they want to go to a party, can go to a party, and that's like the end of it. If you are a human who wants to go to parties, but cannot go to parties, deeply anxiety-inducing, threatens your sense of self, you're gonna fall apart if you try, a lot of things can be really challenging about something like that. And if you're a human who wants to do something pretty basic, human endeavor, humans are social creatures, you want to be social and you can't do it, and you have to fight really hard not to fall apart, to me that makes it seem like you're trying to hold on really tightly to an identity of a person who cannot go to parties. And I kind of just want to hit that again. Basically just repeat it in slightly different words. If you are inadequate to your own metrics, and you want to preserve the person you are, that's a problem. And this video's almost done. We don't really reach a resolution. I can't tell you what to do with any of this. These are just words I can put together to describe a problematic system when I'm confronting something which is very challenging in my internal world. When I overthink and analyze, some people call it overthinking, but when I quite fully examine ahead of time a system which I anticipate to be challenging and I want to be prepared, that's frequently so I'm not excessively damaged during the course of it. If I survive such a trial, I'm just going in circles at this point, so I'm just going to stop going in circles. Hopefully you guys get what I'm saying, and if you don't get what I'm saying, more words at this point will not help. And now I would like to describe it very simply and plainly after spending an entire video talking in big circles, trying to describe concepts using language which is inadequate but is just the best that I have to describe something I don't even understand particularly well. I want to be a person who can do simple things, like hang out in my boyfriend's community Discord server without experiencing extraordinary amounts of panic because it's an experience I've wanted for just about my entire life, since even before I was 14 years when I started feeling excessively alone. I wanted to be able to engage in this normal-ass human behavior. And near as I can understand it, and bear in mind I am a deeply flawed person, so please don't only listen to what I say. But near as I can understand it, if I want to be a person who can casually engage in this normal-ass human behavior, I must casually engage in this normal-ass human behavior, even if on the inside I am crying and screaming because I'm worried I'm going to fall apart. The way to pull this off is to casually stay aware of the physical behaviors of the normal-ass human experience, and carefully watch also how much you are screaming and dying on the inside. But you must hold in mind these two selves. You must be aware of the party that's going around you, while holding in mind the deep panic and fear. If you only go to the party and ignore your fear, you'll never be able to marry the two. And if you're at the party but you're only hyperventilating, that's just putting yourself in misery's way. For me, yesterday, it was movie night in a community Discord. And I alternated, sometimes pretty rapidly and sometimes every couple of minutes, watching the movie and engaging in the chat, and then I would step aside and watch and engage within myself. Internal check. We doing okay? We panicking here? That's alright. Step back and just rest for a little bit. We're doing okay. And then engage in the event a little bit more, carefully balance between these two, but paying absolute respect to them both. I was ultimately deeply unafraid of this circumstance, which typically did cause me such fear that I wanted to drink at work and forget everything. Because the thought of expending the energy to prepare for this event did not weigh out how tired I am of being a human who's unable to handle it. The safeguards in place were simply two. Consistent check-ins with myself while sitting calmly in a circumstance which caused me tremendous fear, to see, am I doing okay? To reassure myself, yes, we're doing okay. We're watching a movie in a Discord server. The internet people can't get you here. But to reassure myself things were fine, consistent check-ins with myself. With the other safeguard being that if I checked in with myself and it was decidedly too much for me to handle, I could leave. That's fine. And this all had the ultimate backup. That if the worst thing occurs and I fall apart... First of all, I've fallen apart in the past. I'll just pick it back up together. It might take me a few months. It might take me an hour. But I can piece together again. That's not a big deal. But I would have spent all of the energy required to pick myself back up in advance to prepare for the scary thing. By trusting in my ability to pick myself back up if I fall apart, and in knowing my own behaviors that I was about to experience so much time sink and panic in preparing for the event in the first place, that I could reallocate that time in the worst of circumstances. Nothing has changed, but it had the benefit that if things go well, if I can pull it off, juggle between being present in the scary circumstance and checking in with myself and seeing if I'm doing okay, it's possible that I could get through this scary circumstance, come out the other side of Discord movie night, and feel a little bit more like a complete human for it. A human who's able to handle this normal-ass human behavior and be casually fine. This is not something I was able to do for basically my entire life. It's possible I got lucky, and I just have a confidence now in my abilities to get through challenging circumstances that I was able to brace for this one. Oh, nope, that's the wrong language to use. It wasn't a brace for it. It was just kind of like a stroll into it because, fuck it, I'm exhausted these days. I'll be okay, because I had developed all of these mechanisms that I've described to you for an entire video now. And I have no clue what you should do with it. If it pertains to you, if it means anything to you, please bear in mind, I'm probably just a lunatic. I'm a full-grown adult who learned how to find myself by VTubing as a kitty cat. I'm insane. But if this and my journey helps you whatsoever, I don't know, food for thought, maybe. But I theorize that there has to be a better way than only panicking and thinking fully about the things that you do and trusting yourself that I'm going to do the thing and then pick up any bad pieces after, opposed to worrying about it ahead of time. Now, this video has to be done, and I'm just going to leave you with a super tiny little philosophy. It's a throwaway philosophy, but for me it kind of works, and I've accidentally just described this small trite little phrase using a whole video. Basically, the principle is called the second arrow. If you get hit by an arrow, and you spend time being like, oh god, I got hit by an arrow, that sucks, then it's kind of like you hit yourself with the second arrow, because you're celebrating in the pain you just felt, instead of the proper recourse, I got hit by an arrow, I'm gonna go seek medical attention, and I'm gonna get rid of the arrow, right? That's what you're supposed to do when you get hit by something that hurts, is you're supposed to go take care of it, not supposed to be like, oh god, what happened, and get upset about it, I guess. And that phrasing on its own doesn't make sense to me. I don't care for it. It means nothing. But the way it does make sense to me is when I panic about something ahead of time, and I have to experience the event anyway, I have hurt myself twice. I have to deal with, oh god, there's going to be a party. Dang it. I have to prepare for it and panic. And then I have to panic when I'm at the stinking party? That's double panic. That's 2 panic. That is way too much panic. I don't want to panic. I have a whole entire life to live. Are you kidding me? I don't want to panic that much. So I hurt myself in anticipation of the hard thing. Then also, I had to experience the hard thing. On the off chance the hard thing doesn't actually hurt that much, then you hurt yourself ahead of time for no reason. But also, if the hard thing does turn out to be very hard, you can then use the energy seeking personal care and picking yourself up from the hard thing, instead of going through all of that pain ahead of time, and then confronting a big scary future, and then if it goes poorly, still picking yourself up from it. Probably don't listen to any of this if you're struggling with any of these things right now. Follow what I say at your own peril, because actually a lot of the circumstances I've described in some of my past, even fairly recent past, would have been absolutely damaging to self, and this can all be like, proceed in small and gentle steps and address your problems in small, tackleable ways. And only you can know what that looks like. But that's just where my head is at lately. That's my experience in roughly a nutshell of the most recent insurmountable pain internally, and a little bit about what the resolution was, the actions I took, and I have an entire video series likely on the way where I talk about all of it in absolute depth and detail. As for now, that's all that this video was, and I didn't expect for this video to be at all, let alone for this video to be this video. So I really hope that we liked this video. I hope that we liked the world, the hot air balloon world. Part of me wants to like show it to you because I was like, oh wow, it's such a cool world. So we're just gonna do it like super briefly and look at the ground. Just kidding. It's clouds, and I got tired of trying to like. I'm not gonna try that hard. Alright, bye guys.